Welcome back to High Stakes. Today, we will be discussing the following NCAAF matches that is happening on Saturday, September 30th, 2023. We will be providing our team, total, and prop picks for the day. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If you want access to our premium picks, you can check out our Patreon page. You can find the link to our Patreon page in the description and comment section below. Pittsburgh versus Virginia Tech. Take the Panthers. The Panthers dropped their third game in a row by falling to the number 17 North Carolina Tar Heels, 4-0 SU, third in ACC, 41-24 at home last week. Underdog Pitt kept it close early, taking a 7-7 tie into the second quarter on an RB Rodney Hammond Jr. 7-yard touchdown run with 3:38 to go in the first. Pittsburgh took the lead on running back Daniel Carter's 1-yard plunge into the end zone in the second, but UNC answered with 3 quick touchdowns of their own in the quarter, took the lead, and never looked back. Hammond Jr. finished with 83 yards on the ground and W.R. Kenny Johnson returned a kickoff 100 yards for a score, but the Tar Heels offense proved too much in the end. QB Phil Jurkovec threw for 109 yards for the Panthers before exiting with an undisclosed injury. Following their fourth game of 2023, Pittsburgh currently ranks 112th in the nation in average points scored per game with 17. They also rank 121st in average yards per game with 259. The defense ranks 79th overall by allowing an average of 28.3 points per game to their opponent. They have allowed 319 yards per game to their opponent on average, which ranks them 33rd in the country. Pittsburgh has demonstrated strong performance in their recent road games, winning 2 out of their last 3 matchups while covering the spread. They notably had a convincing victory against Virginia Tech and successfully covered the spread in their most recent encounter, which occurred in October of the previous year. In that game, the Hokies struggled to cover the spread and managed to score only 7 points when facing the Panthers at Lane Stadium during the 2021 season. The Pittsburgh defense has a history of excelling on the road, ranking 20th in the nation in average points allowed per game, giving up just 22.8 points on average last season. They have continued this trend in the new year, conceding only 17 points to the West Virginia Mountaineers in their most recent road game. Over their last 3 road games, they have allowed a total of only 5 touchdowns, averaging just 13.3 points allowed per game. In contrast, the Hokies faced defensive challenges in their recent game at Lane Stadium, surrendering a total of 427 yards and 3 touchdowns to their opponent. To compound Virginia Tech's difficulties in the upcoming contest, the Panthers have been consistently scoring just under 30 points per game in their last 3 road games. Considering these trends and performances, it strongly supports the likelihood of Pittsburgh securing a victory on the road against Virginia Tech this Saturday. Also take the over. Virginia Tech lost their 3rd consecutive game when they fell to the Marshall Thundering Herd, 3-0 SU, 4th in Sun Belt East, 24-17 on the road last week. The Hokies were at a disadvantage going into the matchup as they were without starting quarterback Grant Wells, who missed the game due to injury. Backup QB Kieran Drones did yeoman's work, running for 2 touchdowns and driving his team to midfield in the final minute of the game, but a false start on 4th and 1 at the Marshall 31 with under a minute to play sunk them in the end. Drones threw for 159 yards and no interceptions on 19 of 35 passing. The Virginia Tech run game was solid, gaining 184 yards on the ground. The Hokies were led by RB Bayashui Tuten, who had 9 carries for 88 yards. The Virginia Tech defense allowed the Herd to gain 214 yards on the ground, and Rasheen Ali led all rushers with 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Hokies currently rank 88th in the country in average points per game with 21.8. They also rank 90th in yards per game with 329.3 total yards on average. The Virginia Tech defense has allowed an average of 25 points per game, ranking them 57th among their peers. They have allowed an average of 357 yards of total offense per game, which ranks them 56th overall. The Panthers have gone over the point total in 4 of the previous 5 games played away from their home stadium dating back to last season. The Hokies have gone over the point total in 2 of their last 3 games at Lane Stadium, including a 36-17 win over the Old Dominion Monarchs in their home opener earlier this month. The 2 squads have gone over the point total in a combined 62% of their games this year. 2 of the last 3 games played between these 2 teams went over the point total with 75 points scored overall in their last matchup. The Virginia Tech defense allowed 427 total yards and 3 rushing touchdowns to the Purdue Boilermakers in their last game at home and over 200 yards rushing and 24 points to their latest opponent, the Marshall Thundering Herd. The Panthers have scored an average of 28.3 points per game in their last 3 games on the road. The trend strongly suggests this battle will be a higher scoring affair. Washington versus Arizona. Take Washington to win and cover on the road. Washington has scored 40 or more points in every game and won by more than 20 each time. This makes it sound like the Huskies have been playing tune-up games against FCS schools, but they have played big schools such as Michigan State, Cal, and Boise State and ran them all off the field. Michael Penix Jr. has been excellent so far. He is averaging 409 passing yards per game on 74.6% completion percentage with 16 TDs to only 2 interceptions. He leads the nation in passing yards through 4 games. Penix Jr. is firmly in the mix for the Heisman and will likely be a first-round draft pick in April. The receivers benefit from playing with Penix Jr. and are putting up strong numbers collectively. There are 3 receivers with 20 or more catches through 4 games, led by junior Rome Odunze with 27 catches for 544 yards and 4 touchdowns. Odunze is averaging 20.1 yards per catch and is second in the nation in receiving yards. Jalen Polk, 21 rec, 427 yards, 4 TDs, and Jalen McMillan, 20 rec, 311 yards, 3 TDs, join Odunze on the outside and provide Penix Jr. with multiple weapons. Dylan Johnson has been the lead back with 149 yards on the season, though the Huskies primarily rely on the passing game to make big plays. Washington is allowing 17 points on 370.8 yards per game. The Huskies are 1-0 in conference play and just allowed their highest total to Cal with 32. Cornerback Dominique Hampton leads the team in tackles with 23. Washington surprisingly only has 5 team sacks through 4 games, led by DE Zion Tapula-Fedwe with 2. The Huskies have 6 team interceptions led by CB Cameron Fabiculanan with 2. Washington has been consistently impressive, scoring 40 or more points in every game and winning each by a comfortable margin of at least 20 points. Facing an Arizona team that may potentially be without their starting quarterback adds to the odds favoring Washington to continue this trend. Despite being on the road, the Huskies demonstrated their ability to thrive away from home when they decisively defeated Michigan State 41-7. Penix Jr. is having an outstanding season, and his performance could place him in contention for the Heisman Trophy if he maintains his current pace. Washington's offensive arsenal is further bolstered by 3 excellent receivers, while Arizona's defense has yet to record a single interception this season. Considering these factors, it appears highly likely that the Huskies will once again generate substantial offensive numbers in this matchup. Arizona was already facing a challenging game, but with their top quarterback and running back dealing with injuries, their prospects look even more daunting. Consequently, the Huskies are expected to dominate this game. Also take the over. Arizona went into Stanford and was able to hold off the Cardinal 21-20 to win their first conference game. The Wildcats had to finish the game with backup quarterback Noah Fifita after starter Jaden DeLora went down with a calf injury. Head coach Jedd Fisch was unable to comment on DeLora's status on Monday, but clarified that he would have no concern whatsoever if Fifita were to start against Washington. Fifita completed all 4 of his pass attempts for 47 yards and helped lead the game-winning drive in the 4th. Coach Fisch has said the right things about the quarterback situation, but the Wildcats will be out a big piece of their offense if DeLora cannot go. The junior quarterback out of Hawaii averages 267.3 passing yards per game with a 9-to-5 TDINT ratio. He has also rushed for 131 yards and 3 scores on the year. Running back Michael Wiley has gotten the majority of the carries with 40 attempts for 176 yards, but sophomore running back Jonah Coleman has been the more explosive option with the exact same amount of yards on only 20 carries. Their top receiver has been the 6 feet 5 inches wideout Teteroa McMillan with 21 catches for 341 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Wildcats are allowing 16 points and 315 yards of offense this season, though this does include a game against Northern Arizona, who only mustered 3 points. Linebacker Jacob Manu is the leader of the defense with 38 tackles and 3 sacks. The Wildcats do not have a single interception through 4 games. This is a high number, but it is high for a reason. Washington is the more talented team and will control the tempo. The Huskies want to score big and play fast. They won't mind giving up a few points to Arizona because they know they will score more. Washington's last game had 91 total points scored as they beat Cal 59-32. California is not known for their high-scoring offense. They only scored 10 on Auburn, so if Cal can put up 32, then Arizona will be able to score a few touchdowns. Washington is on a tear this season, and the nation may not recognize it until they play Oregon next week, but until then the Huskies will keep putting up numbers and cashing overs.